No one in the room expected the old man to answer, and no one, not even the commander who asked the question as a joke, was prepared for the name. He whispered back. The bar fell quiet so fast it felt like the world skipped a beat. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. He had walked in quietly, leaning slightly on a weathered cane, his jacket zipped up to his collar. The other patrons barely noticed him at first, but the group of off-duty SEALs gathered near the counter did. One of them, Commander Blake Hensley, caught sight of the faded military patch stitched onto the man's sleeve, a patch so old it looked like it belonged in a museum. Blake smirked, nudging the teammate beside him. "Hey, Grandpa," he said loudly enough for the room to hear. "What was your call sign? Or did they not have those back in your days?" A few people laughed. A few looked away. Sensing something off, the old veteran didn't flinch. He simply lowered himself onto a bar stool, the wood creaking under his weight. For a moment, he didn't even look at the commander. He just rested his hand on the counter, fingers trembling slightly, not with fear, but age. Then, slowly, he turned his head. His eyes were pale blue, the kind that had seen too much ocean and too many battles. "My call sign," he said softly. He blinked once, then whispered, "Silver Sky." The laughter died instantly. A fork slipped from someone's hand. Even the bartender froze mid-pour, because that name, that impossible, legendary call sign, belonged to someone none of them believed was real. Silver Sky was the ghost story whispered in training camps, the invisible guardian in classified rescue files, the man rumored to have saved teams who never even knew help was coming. Commander Blake felt his throat tighten. He had thrown the joke expecting a harmless chuckle, maybe even a cranky old retort. Not this, not him. He swallowed hard. "Silver Sky is just a myth," he said, trying to recover, but his voice trembled. The old veteran simply looked down at his hands, as if remembering things he wished he could forget. "Son," he murmured, "myths are just truths wrapped." In silence, dust drifted through the dim light above them. The hum of the air conditioner sounded suddenly like wind over an empty desert. Something about the moment made everyone feel like the floor itself was holding its breath. And then the door swung open. A young woman rushed in, early 30s, frantic, tears streaking down her cheeks. "My father, please. Someone help," she cried. Her words sliced the silence apart. Her voice was desperate, shaking. "You're military, aren't you? My brother fell in the forest near the ridge, and he's not breathing properly. The rescue team said they're delayed. I don't know what to do." Commander Blake stood. His training clicked into place immediately. "What forest?" he asked. "How far? Is he conscious?" But she wasn't looking at him. She was staring at the old man, as if something about him, something quiet, something ancient, felt safer. The room shifted again. Blake felt that sting of moral tension bite into him. An old man or a legend? His pride or his duty? Silver Sky slowly pushed himself to standing. His knee cracked, his breath steadied. "Show me the way," he said. Blake stepped forward. "Sir, with all respect, this is a job for trained personnel. Let my team handle it." The old veteran's eyes didn't even flicker. "Then follow," he replied, "or fall behind." It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't defiance. It was simply the voice of someone who had led too many missions to count and survived. He started for the door, and something incredible happened. Every SEAL in the bar followed. Neighbors saw them spill into the street, young warriors moving around an old veteran like planets around a star they'd forgotten existed. People stepped out of nearby cafes, whispering, "What's happening?" Cars slowed. A crowd formed, sensing the shift in atmosphere. As they headed toward the ridge, a gust of wind swept dust across the path. Branches rustled like warning signs. The forest ahead looked darker than it should, the shadows deep as ink. Silver Sky paused at the tree line. He closed his eyes. For a moment, he looked simply old and unbearably tired. Blake wondered if he had made a mistake letting him come. But then the old man inhaled sharply, posture straightening, expression sharpening. It was like watching a dormant engine roar, quietly back to life. "He's northeast," Silver Sky said suddenly, pointing. "Near water. Probably fell from the rocky ledge." "How do you know that?" Blake asked. Because the wind is coming from that direction, and I smell blood. The SEALs exchanged stunned glances. This wasn't guesswork. This was experience. They moved faster than the girl could keep up with, but she followed behind, sobbing prayers under her breath. Halfway up the ridge, one of the SEALs spotted something. A torn piece of fabric caught on a branch, fluttering, like a surrender flag. He was here, Blake said. Silver Sky knelt beside the ledge. His fingers brushed the stone. He slipped, he murmured, rolled, at least 20 feet. He didn't wait. He started descending the slope with surprising precision, the kind that no amount of modern training could replicate. They found the injured brother near a small creek, pale and gasping, one leg twisted unnaturally. The girl screamed his name and fell beside him. He's losing consciousness, one SEAL warned. We're stabilizing him, another said. But the terrain was rough, too steep for a stretcher, too dangerous for helicopters. For a second, just a second, fear flickered in Blake's chest. What now? He whispered. Silver Sky didn't hesitate. He tore open his own jacket and used it to support the boy's neck. Then he gave orders, not hints, not suggestions, orders so precise even trained SEALs moved like a synchronized unit. You, he said, pointing, cut a branch thick but flexible. You, he said to another, wrap those vines into a binding. You lift his right shoulder on my count. No sooner. And somehow, impossibly, they all obeyed without question. The tools struck in unison. Branches snapped. Hands moved swiftly. A makeshift splint was created so expertly it could have passed for professional equipment. Then Silver Sky did something none of them expected. He leaned down, placed his hand on the boy's forehead, and whispered, "Stay with us, son. You're not done yet." The boy's breathing steadied just enough. They carried him up the ridge as a unit. Neighbors lining the path stepped back, murmuring. The atmosphere was thick with awe, fear, and hope. Some people even pressed their hands together in prayer as the group passed. When they reached the top, an ambulance finally arrived. Paramedics rushed forward, taking over with practiced urgency. The girl hugged her brother, sobbing with relief. Then she stood and turned towards Silver Sky. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "You saved him." The old veteran shook his head gently. "No," he said. "He saved himself. We only helped him find the way." Commander Blake stepped closer, shame sitting heavy in his chest. "I shouldn't have spoken to you the way I did," he said quietly. "I didn't know." Silver Sky looked at him, really looked at him. "That's the thing about respect," he said softly. "It isn't owed, it's learned." The words hit Blake harder than any reprimand he'd ever received, and yet there was no anger in them. Only truth, only wisdom. The ambulance doors closed. The sirens faded. The old man turned to walk away. "Will we see you again?" Blake asked. Silver Sky paused, just a heartbeat. Then he gave a faint smile. "Probably not," he said, "but you'll remember what matters." And he walked into the fading light, disappearing as quietly as he had arrived, just like a legend would. Because kindness doesn't vanish, it waits, and it finds its way back. And sometimes, all it takes to reveal a legend is for someone to ask the wrong question. If you enjoyed this story, tell me in the comments what part hit you the hardest. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories told from the heart.